theyeshiva.net.
I'm going to begin today's class with a story that takes us back to the year Tovkuf Samach Aleph, 1800. The Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi, was imprisoned by the Tsarist government twice, both because of a terrible Mesira. Some people informed upon him to the Tsarist government, and both were very serious accusations that almost cost him his life. The first time was 2 years earlier, Tovkuf Nun Tes, 1798. He was taken to Petersburg, St. Petersburg, the capital of Tsarist Russia, where he was imprisoned and liberated on the famous day of Yutes Kislev, Yad Kislev. Tovkuf Nun Tes, 1798, the end of 98. 2 years later, there was another Mesira. They formed against him once again, and he was again imprisoned. This time, Tovkuf Samach Aleph, the end of 1800, and he was liberated on Chanukah. Either the Dritte Lichtel or the Fünfte Lichtel, the third night of Chanukah, or the fifth night of Chanukah of that year, the end of 1800. His second liberation came about with the help of a Jew whose name was Reb Nosson Notte Notkin of a city of Shklov, a Lithuanian Jew, Reb Nosson Notte, who had very, very good contacts with the Tsarist government in Petersburg at the time. But he was from the Lithuanian community that opposed Chassidim and Chassidus. But he was somewhat more open-minded, so he made a deal with the Alter Rebbe, with the Baal HaTanya. He told him, I will use all my influence to get you out, but a condition. The condition is that after you're out, I want you to visit the three greatest Gdolim in what was known as the world of the Misnagdim, the three greatest Talmidei Chachamim scholars in Lithuania at the time, who basically represented that world of the Litvische Gdolei Yisrael. This was already after the passing of the Vilna Gaon, who passed away 3 years earlier, and Sukkot Tovkuf Nun Ches. He wasn't around anymore. He passed away in 1796. But this was already a few years later. And if you'll go visit them and try to create some reconciliation or understanding, I will put my full weight to get you free. And the Baal HaTanya agreed. He tried also to go to the Vilna Gaon years ago, but it didn't work. And he gave him a tkiyas kaf. It was a handshake, like an oath that he's going to do it. The first thing when he came out, Chanukah Tovkuf Samach Aleph, he went to visit these three people. One of them was a Jew named Reb Moshe Chayfetz. Reb Moshe Chayfetz came from a little town in Lithuania called Savas. He was known as Reb Moshe Chorif, the sharp Reb Moshe. And he was an extraordinary genius, an extraordinary Gaon and Talmud Chacham Torah scholar. The Baal HaTanya went to visit him. Now he respected nobody. Absolutely nobody. Thank you. On the contrary, he dismissed everybody. He rejected everybody. He felt that nobody knew how to learn, etc. So when the Baal HaTanya, the Alter Rebbe, came to visit him, his attitude was the same, especially here you're dealing not just with an ordinary person who doesn't know anything, but one of the representatives of Chassidus, of the world of Chassidus. So he was even more dismissive and cynical. And he said, I can't learn in Bechlal, you know how to learn anything. So he said, ask. First question, how many times Abaye and Rava mentioned the whole Shas? Before Google. How many times Abaye and Rava mentioned the whole Shas? The Alter Rebbe gave him a number immediately. He said, you're off by one. He said, no, you're mistaking because you're taking an old version, but you know there's another version. And then he started to speak to him about a lot of different sugyas and Shas. Just standing, still very cynical. But slowly the ice melted when he realized that in front of him is standing one of the Goyni Hador, one of the greatest geniuses of the generation, or perhaps of many generations. So in the middle, he says, so now I'm going to ask you a question. And this question I asked by many go'inim b'mei chorfi. When I was a young man, or a young lad, a young bacher, a young person, I went to many go'inim whom I met, and I asked them this question. And nobody can answer me this question. And if you will answer me this, I always said, whoever answers this question, I will title that person Rabbi, Alufi, Umiyudoi. My Rebbe, my teacher, my master, my teacher. And my beloved, my friend. So the Alter Rebbe, the Baal HaTanya says, Frag, ask. So this was his question. Now, I just want to say that the question itself also needs understanding. Meaning, most people wouldn't ask these types of questions. Not because it's not a question, because they wouldn't even think that it's a question. Because their level of learning is so shallow that it's not a question. But for him, this was a serious question to the point that it was the barometer who could be called his Rebbe. He also told Alter Rebbe then, he said over, that I once went to the Gaon, the Vilna Gaon, and I asked him a question, and he answered it in one way, and I answered in a different way. And that's when I saw the difference between a Gaon and a Charif. He's a Gaon and I'm a Charif. He's a genius, but I'm a sharp person. I'm sharper. That's why I'm called Moshe Charif. What was the question? So I quoted to you the two sources which his question revolves on. It's a contradiction of two medrashim. It's not just a shvere Tosfos, a shvere Rashi, a shvere Rambam, an incomprehensible piece of Gemara. No, a contradiction between two medrashim. The first medrash is in Medrash Rabbah Parshas Kisisa. Shmois Rabbah Parshas Mem Dalet Piskei Zayin. The Jews create a golden calf. Hashem wants to obliterate them. Moshe pleads for forgiveness. Vayichal Moshe pnei Hashem elakav. Lama Hashem yechra abcha ba'amecha. Schor la'avodecha, la'Avraham, li'Yitzchak, li'Yisrael, shenishbata lahem bach. Vatadaber aleim arba zarachim kechich v'ashamayim, v'chal oretz asher amarti eten l'zarachim v'nochel u'loil. Remember Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, Yaakov, the forefathers, whom you made an oath to. And you told them that I will increase your children like the stars of heaven, and they will inherit the land forever. Remember, Zog the Medrash, Lama hiskir kan Moshe gimel avos. Why does Moshe mention here the three of us? Remember Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael. Omer Rebavin. Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu LaMoshe ani mevakesh miyadcha kashem shebegashti mizdoi masara. Hamid li mehem asara tzadikim ve'eni mechalois. When a Moshe asked for forgiveness, Hashem says, I will make the same deal I made with Avraham when it came to Zdoim. I asked him for 10 tzaddikim, in whose merit I will not destroy Zdoim. Avraham couldn't come up with 10. You bring me 10, and I don't destroy. Amar, Moshe said, Riboyna olam ani ma'amid lecha. I'll provide 10 righteous people. Hare ani, I'm number 1, Aaron is 2, Elazar, Aaron's son, is 3, Itamar, another son, is 4, Pinchas, Elazar's son, Aaron's grandson, is 5, Yeshua is 6, Kalev is 7. So you understand, from the Jewish people, he found 7 people, 7 tzaddik. Him, his brother Aaron, Aaron's 2 sons, his nephews, Elazar and Isamar, Moshe's great-nephew Pinchas, and 2 more people, Yeshua and Kalev, 7 people. Amma lo yo'elikim, Hashem says, Harei Shiva. These are 7. Ve'eichan hashloisha. Where are the other 3? Lo yedei malasas. Moshe didn't know what to do. He didn't have another 3. Amma lo Moshe, then Moshe says, Riboyna olam, chayim mehem amesim. Tell me, God, those who are dead are still alive. Amma lo hey, so of course. Maybe they're more alive than those who are alive, but they're certainly alive. Amar, he says, Im chayim heim amesim, schor la'Avram li'Yitzchak li'Yisrael arei asara. If so, we have another 3. If they're alive, if they're present, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, 7 and 3, you have 10. L'chachisker shloisha avos. That's why he mentions schor la'Avram li'Yitzchak li'Yisrael. These were the last 3. Great, a medrash. Now there's another medrash in Parshas Eikev. Parshas Eikev, of course, repeats the story of the creation of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets and Moshe asking for forgiveness. It's the second time around when Moshe tells what happened. Kisi says when it happened, Eikev is his repetition of the story 40 years later. So the Medrash in Parshas Eikev brings a similar story. Amalafon of Moshe tells Hashem, Chashoivaisam kizdoim. Look at them like zdoim. Ma amarta lavram. Vayomer Hashem im emtza bezdoim chamishim tzadikim b'soy chayir v'nasasi l'chalamakim ba'avuram uviter loy ad asara. He went down to 10. Don't treat them worse than zdoim. In zdoim you were ready to accept 10. Accept 10. V'animai midlecha me'elu shmoinim tzadikim. In zdoim you were ready to get 10. I'll give you 80. Amar loy, Hashem says, Hame, give me 80. Amar lefon of Ribono Shaloylam, Harei Shivim Askenim. First of all, you have the 70 elders, the Ksiv. We have in Ba'aloi Yischo, Vayomer Hashem al Moshe, Asfali Shivim Ish Miziknei Yisrael. Gather 70 elders, and I will give them part of your ruach, part of your spirit. They will become prophets, and there are 70 prophets. So you have 70. Then you have Aaron is 1, Nadav 2, Avihu 3, Elazar 4, Isamar 5, Pinchas 6, Kalev 7. So you have 70 sages and another 7 people. Harei Shivim V'Shiva. 77 people. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaMoshe, Eichen Oid Gimel Tzadikim. You said 80. You gave me 77. Where are the other 3? Amalafon of Ribono Shaloylam. Im halolo b'chayim ve'enim yichaylan lamed lam b'pirtza hazu yamdu amesim. If the living can't stand up, let the dead stand up. Amar lefonav asei b'schus gimel avos. Let's bring in the merit of the 3 patriarchs. Harei Shmoinim, we have 80. Schor Lavram, Litzuk L'Yisrael Avadecha. Kivin shehiski Moshe schus avos miyad amar lo salachti kidvarach. The moment he brought in these 3, salachti kidvarach. On a side note, before we get into this discussion, one has to understand why in the first list you have Nadav and Avihu. In the first list you don't have Nadav and Avihu. In the second list you have Nadav and Avihu, Elazar, Isamar. In the first list you don't have Moshe. The first list you have Moshe. The second list you don't have Moshe. Mefarshim discussed these differences. There's an opinion that Nadav and Avihu already sinned at that time because by Matan Torah it says Vayechzu es Elikim, Vayoichlu, Vayishtu at the end of Mishpatim. Nadav and Avihu and the 70 elders. So that's what the opinion of the first Medrash. That's brought in some of the commentators. Reb Moshe Chayfetz asked the Balatanya. He says, I want to understand the Svaras HaMachloikas, the logic between the 2 Medrashim. In the first Medrash, Hashem says 10. He's happy with 10. In the second Medrash, he needs 80. What's the difference? Why the first 10 and the second, even 77 wasn't enough? I still need my 80. He said, nobody could explain to me what is the Svaras HaMachloikas between these 2 Medrashim. What is the logic behind this argument? Now, I say most people don't ask these types of questions. They don't take Medrash seriously, to be blunt. A Medrash, okay, another story. It's not, what are you going to start analyzing now? Numbers 10, 77, 80. It's a nice Medrash, you know. It's a nice Medrash. It's Agada, it's a story. But Goinim throughout the generations knew that just like you have to learn Halacha well, you have to learn Agada well. Even though there's different ways of learning Halacha and different ways of learning Agada, but the same depth and precision and meticulousness that exists in every line of Torah Sheba'al Peh and Halacha exists also in Agada. So for him, this was a very important question. Without skipping a heart's beat, the Alter Rebbe tells him the 2 views in the Medrash, Kisis and Eikev. He said, Zainen Tolui and Amachloikas HaTanoim. They follow an argument between 2 Tanoim in Shas. Reb Moshe Chayfetz knew Shas, like some of us know Ashrei, or perhaps even better than Ashrei. So he scans through in his mind. He says, Sinishtaz HaMachloikas in Shas. In the whole Shas, Bavli or Yerushalmi, there's no such argument. 10 or 80, there's no such argument. So the Alter Rebbe gave him an answer. This answer I want to explore today. The answer he gave to him was brief because he knew the whole Mishnah, he knew the whole Gemara, as we will see. But to appreciate the answer, a lot of context and introduction is needed, and that's what we're going to learn today, among other things. So we're going to get back to the answer that the Balatanya gave Reb Moshe Chayfetz a little later in the class. We're going to begin now the next step with 2 psukim, one in Vayikra and one in Shlach. Both seem very similar, and the Chazal, as usual, have to make sense of the psukim, which is where the oral tradition comes in and explains that we're dealing with two completely different situations. We'll start with Vayikra simply because of chronological order, and then Shlach. So you have it in your source number 3, the end of Vayikra, Perek Dalet, Pasuk Yud Gimel. V'im kol adas Yisrael yishgu. An interesting situation. If the entire Adas Yisrael, the whole Klal Yisrael, the whole community of Israel, makes a mistake, v'nelam dover meinei hakol, and something gets concealed from the eyes of the kol, of the whole community, the whole congregation, v'asu achas mikol mitzvahs Hashem asher lo yiseh asena v'Hashem, and they do one of the mitzvahs that they're not supposed to do. Hashem says they do something they're not supposed to do, and they do it. It was a mistake. V'noida achatas asher chatu Allah. And it becomes aware, they become aware of the sin. V'ikrivu hakol, the community has to offer. Par ben bakar lechatas v'viyos lifnei Almighty. They bring a bull as a sin offering to atone for this collective sin. Parshas Vayikra. Parshas Shlach, the end of Shlach. V'chisishgu v'lo isasu es kol ha-mitzvahs ha'ela asher dibur Adonai al Moshe es kol asher tziva Adonai aleichem biad Moshe min hayoyim asher tziva Adonai v'al l'deresech. If you make a mistake and one of them, you don't do the mitzvahs that Hashem told Moshe, everything he told Moshe from the day he commanded him, the mitzvahs for the generations. V'hoye me'enei ha'eda neses al-ishgaga, from the eyes of the community. This was done by mistake. The whole Eidah has to bring a bull for an oil offering and a goat for a sin offering. 2 offerings, a bull and a goat. The Kohen will atone for the entire community of the Jewish people, the whole Klal Yisrael, and they will be forgiven. It was a mistake, and they brought their offering. They brought their fire, their oil offering, and their sin offering. The Nislach, this pasuk is well known. It becomes the opening of the Kol Nidre Yom Kippur at night. The Nislach l'chol adas b'nei Yisrael v'lager agar b'soichem ki l'chol ha'am b'shgaga. Will be forgiven for the entire community of the children of Israel and also the converts who live with them, because the whole nation made a mistake. And this pasuk, even though it's talking about a specific situation, was chosen as the opening, as I said, after Kol Nidre of the Yom Kippur services. What is the difference between the story in Vayikra and the story in Shlach? They seem similar. The community sinned, but there's different karbanos going on. So here we need the explanation of Torah Shabbal Peh. So the Rambam, let's see how the Rambam codified it in his Mishnah Torah Yad HaChazaka, where the Rambam always masterfully organizes all halachas of the whole Torah. Rambam has a section called Hilchas Shgagas, which means the halachas of mistakes. What are Hilchas Shgagas? The halacha is, already in Parshas Vayikra, when a Jew commits a sin by mistake, inadvertently, called a shaygik, but not just any sin. A sin that if he would do it willingly, there could be a heavenly death penalty called karas. Then, if he or she does it by mistake, they bring a sin offering, usually a female goat or a female sheep. One of the two. Female goat, female sheep. That's the carbon chatas. How many sins are there that you bring a carbon chatas on? 43. 43. Only 43 things that a Jew, a man, or a woman does by mistake, and they bring a carbon chatas. One would be, they desecrate Shabbos. A Jew plants on Shabbos, lights a fire on Shabbos, carries on Shabbos, cooks on Shabbos by mistake. He didn't know the halacha. He got mixed up with the day. He made a mistake. These are called shoygegim. He brings a chatos. A Jew eats on Yom Kippur. He eats on Yom Kippur. He forgets it's Yom Kippur. He's used to eating breakfast. Whatever the situation, how he forgot. I mean, there's a few conditions over there, but that's a basic shoygeg. If he would do it willingly, he would be chayav kares. He eats chametz on Pesach. He engages in immoral relationships. It's an inadvertent error. It's a mistake. He brings or she brings a carbon chatas. There's only 43 averos like that. But here we're not talking about an individual Jew. Here we're talking about kol ha'eda, the whole Klal Yisrael. This is a whole different situation, a whole different category. This is called the whole tzibur's carbon. And it's a unique situation. Let's see how the Rambam explains the two stories. Rambam Hilchos Shgagas Perik Yud Beis. Kol davar, I'm going to read fast. Kol davar shechayaven al shegigosei chatas kvua. Anything that if you would do it on your own by mistake, you would have to bring a carbon chatas. Im shagagu beis din agadol ba'ira. V'hoiru lahatiroi. V'shagagu ha'am b'hirayason v'asu ha'am v'im soimchin al hirayason v'achakach noida lebezdin shetou harei bezdin chayavin lahavi karben chatos al shigagoson b'hira v'afal pisha layasu hein ba'atzman ma'isa. Fascinating situation. Bezdin HaGadol, the supreme court of the Jewish people, which numbered 71 people and was considered the most powerful, largest, greatest authority of Klal Yisrael. Sanhedrin 71. They made a mistake. Not another court. Not a court of 23, not a court of 3. The central Sanhedrin, the central Bezdin. They make a mistake. For example, just to give an example, they tell the Jews, this Yom Kippur you're allowed to eat. In fact, it happened once. If you remember Ashir Heshayna Rabbah, the Shlomo HaMelech's day, he built a new Beis HaMikdash, and the Sanhedrin said, we're eating this Yom Kippur. Then they realized it was a mistake. And they told Klal Yisrael you can eat. Or anything else. They say this blood, the blood of the heart, you're allowed to eat. If you eat blood willingly, you're chayav karas. This food is not chametz. You're allowed to eat it on Pesach. They find that it's chametz. Any such type of mistake. You're allowed to kneel in front of this idol. You can't put down your head on the floor, but you're allowed to kneel. Or here, you could go to the bathroom in front of this idol. They didn't think that's the way to worship it. Any mistake that you would be chayav karas, and they tell Klal Yisrael they can do it, and they do it based on their mistake. And then Bezdin finds out they made a mistake. The halach is Bezdin now is responsible. They have to bring a chatas offering for their mistake, even though they didn't do anything. Shein mashgichin al asiyas Bezdin klal bein asu bein lo yasu el al hira yasan belvat. It's irrelevant if they did or not. What's relevant is they paskind, they instructed, they gave a hira. Usharam pturin min hakarban afa b'shem moisin neshatala bebest. Everybody else is exempt because they were following Bezdin. Bezdin carries the achrayas. Umau hakarban shemavin al shgagazu. What do you bring? Im ba'avodah zara shagagu v'hayru. If the mistake was in hilchas avodah zara, they allowed Jews to worship by mistake what turns out to be idolatry. Mivian parley oil v'sar lechatos mikol shevet v'shevet. They have to bring a bull for an oila and a goat for a chatas from every single shevet. V'karben zeh amar b'parsha Shlach lecha v'hayeh me'enei ha'eden neses al ishgaga. This is the pasuk in Shlach. If something was done by mistake because of Einei Ha'eda, the eyes of the community were darkened. Torah Shabbat Pet teaches us it's not just any mistake, it's talking about a mistake in Avodah Zarah. What's the source? The source is, as Rashi says, because it says here, V'chisishgu v'loisasu eis kol ha-mitzvah. They transgressed all the mitzvahs, everything Hashem told Moshe. And I asked you, is it possible a Sanhedrin should make a mistake about every single one of the 630 mitzvahs? It's a little weird, yeah? Or 43 mitzvahs. So Chazal says it's talking about one mitzvah, Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is the essence of the whole Torah. This is talking about Avodah Zarah. The Rambam continues, but if it was about another issue, for example, eating on Yom Kippur, eating blood, eating chametz and Pesach, engaging in a forbidden relationship, etc., they say you could marry this person, it turns out it's a brother and a sister. These types of things, which as you know in history, these things could happen. In this case, mayvi kol shevet v'shevet parchatos. Every shevet has to bring one bull. You have to bring a par. These are two karbonis tzibur that Bezdin brings, but every shevet has to bring. In other words, Bezdin is responsible for it, not every individual who did it, and they have to bring 12. But a regular carbon, a regular aveira, not avodah zarah, 12 bulls, and if it was avodah zarah, 12 bulls and 12 goats from every shevet. There are a few conditions here. Condition number 1 is the Sanhedrin is the one who has to give the ruling. Condition number 2 is most of the Jewish people follow the ruling. What do I mean by most? Most, Rambam Paskins means most of Klal Yisrael living in Eretz Yisrael, or most of the Shvatim, even if it's not a majority of the Jewish people living in Eretz Yisrael. So you can have 600,000 Jews, say, living in the Holy Land. If 301,000 Jews follow Beis Din, they have to bring this carbon for every shevet. Even if the majority of every shevet does it, even if it's less than the majority of Klal Yisrael, because let's say one shevet has a huge amount, disproportionate amount of numbers, they still have to bring this carbon. That's the halacha and the Rambam. These are the details of when you bring this carbon. It's called par helam davar shel tzibur in halacha. The cow, the bull, not the cow, the bull that was brought when the tzibur was mistaken, when the tzibur was experienced helam davar, a mistake, a concealment of truth because of the Beis Din, because of the Sanhedrin. Next step comes the Sifri. The Sifri, which is the Medrash of the Tanoim on Parshas Shlach, says, Minayin im ikev echad min hashvatim v'lo yehevi shahaya ma'akev es hakapara. How do you know that if one of the Shvatim said they're not bringing echad min hashvatim ikev, you're not bringing on our behalf, this prevented the whole atonement. Talmud loymar v'chiper al kol adas b'nei Yisrael. The pasuk says v'chiper al al kol adas b'nei Yisrael. The atonement is for the entire community. Means it's not 12 atonements. There has to be a kapara for everybody. So if you bring 11 bulls and 11 goats, one shevet's bull and goat was not brought for whatever reason, didn't work. You're bringing for each shevet separate. The Sifri says there has to be a kapara al kol adas b'nei Yisrael. Granted, this is a big chiddush. This is what the Sifri says. So the Mefarshim explain. Sifri de Beirav and others. Is this true also about the other par? This is in Shlach. What about in Vayikra? What about the bull that's brought for other Averis, not Avodah Zarah? Also you have to bring, as we said, from every shevet. As the Rambam said, you bring 12 bulls. Kol shevet par chatas. What if you only bring 11? So most Mefarshim say it would be the same halacha, because you learn out this one from this one. There's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, there's a Gzeirah Shavah from this carbon to this carbon, me'ene. So therefore the same halacha would apply there. And they ask a question on the Rambam. The Rambam, who brings all of these halachas, in Shulchan Aruch you don't have these halachas because you don't have the halachas of the time of the Beis HaMikdash, you don't have the halachas of Mashiach. But the Rambam, who brings Kol HaTorah Kul, including the halachas of the Beis HaMikdash and the halachas of Mashiach in the future, why doesn't he bring this Sifri? That if you don't bring one, it's ma'akev. That's what the Mefarshim say. It's a tzarich iyun on the Rambam. A strange thing on the Rambam. The Rogatchover, in Tzafnas Paanach in a few places, we'll soon see one of them inside, says they make two mistakes. First of all, the Rambam does bring it. And second of all, the Sifri says it in Shlach, not in Vayikra. Because it's only a din in Avodah Zarah, it's not a din in the other karbonos. And the Rogatchover teaches us how you have to read a Rambam. He says, look at the words of the Rambam, you'll see immediately that he brings it. Again, people would read a Rambam, it looks the same. But now take a look, let's go back to the first Rambam. Rambam Hilchos Shgogas, Perek Yud Beis, the second paragraph, you see? Halacha Beis, Shgogas, Perek Beis, Halacha Beis. Umau ha-carbon shemeviin al shgogazu. What is the carbon? Im ba'avodah zarah shagagu v'hoiru. If the mistake was in Avodah Zarah, what are his words? Meviin par li'oila v'sar lechatos mikol shevet v'shevet. Translate, they bring a bull for an oila and a goat for a chatas from where? From every shevet. Meviin par li'oila v'sar lechatos mikol shevet v'shevet. Look a line later. V'im b'shar krisa shechayavan asher Jacobson chatas k'vur shagagu v'hoiru. If on other Avedas, they mechuyev a carbon chatas, they made a mistake and they told them to do it, maybe kol shevet v'shevet par chatas. Every shevet brings a par chatas. You see his change? He could have said the same thing before. Maybe kol shevet v'shevet par li'oila v'sar lechatas. Or he could have said here, meviin mikol shevet v'shevet par chatas. So the Rogatchover Gaon says, obviously, the Rambam wrote it differently because it's a different din. By Avodah Zarah, the din is that Bezdin has to bring from every single shevet a par le'oila v'sar lechatos. Mevi'in. They have to bring from every shevet par le'oila. By a regular carbon chatos, by a regular aveda, which is mechuyev chatos, not aveda zara. He phrases it differently. Every shevet has to bring a par chatos. Why the difference? Rakachava says because of this sifri. By aveda zara, there's a din that you need all of them. And as long as you don't have all of them, nobody received atonement. As long as Shevet Yehuda didn't bring their bull and their goat, Shevet Reuven didn't have kapara. You got to get from every Shevet one. By every other Aveda, besides Aveda Zarah, no. There's a din on each Shevet that they have to offer a carbon, and Bezdin is responsible for it. Not every individual, but every Shevet has to bring. It's not Mevi'in Mikol Shevet. You bring from every Shevet. Every Shevet has to bring. You see, the subtle difference in phraseology conveys this difference. The question is, why this difference? Why by one? If one Shevet doesn't bring, it's fine for the other ones. By Avodah Zarah, no. Let's change the subject completely. Parshas Mishpatim at the end describes that before the giving of the Torah, at the end of Mishpatim, Moshe Rabbeinu built altars, mizbeches, upon which the Jewish people offered offerings. The Gemara says that the Jewish people went into conversion. There was Tvilah, there was Milah, and there was Hartzas carbon. They went to the mikveh, they had a bris, and there was a carbon. How many altars did Moshe Rabbeinu build? In Mechilta, there's an argument. Sagt the Medrash in Mechilta Mishpatim, Moshe Bana. Anybody has a chumash maybe? Anybody has a full chumash? Oh, thank you. I'm going to read the pasuk inside here. I'll put it afterwards in the sources. I just put the Mechilta, but I'll put also the pasuk in the sources, which are always posted on the yeshiva.net under the video. So the pasuk in Mishpatim Perek Chav Dalet pasuk Dalet says, "Vayichtav Moshe es kol divrei Adonai vayashkem baboker vayiven mizbeach tachas ahar u'shteim esrei matzeva l'shneim asar shifte Yisrael." Moshe Rabbeinu builds a mountain under an altar, a mizbeach under the mountain, and 12 stones for the 12 shvatim. And they bring karbonis, oilus, and shlamim. Rashi says from the Gemara in Shabbos, Peches, this is the 5th day of Sivan. It's right before Shavuos, right before Matan Torah. Hey, Sivan, he builds this. He builds a mizbeach and 12 matzevis for the 12 shvatim. What does this mean? Of course, there's an argument. Zog the Mechilta, Moshe bana mizbechus, yud beis avonim li yud beis shvatim. Moshe built one mizbeach. The mizbeach consisted of 12 stones, 12 matzevis, 12 stones for the 12 shvatim. Chachamim ma'imrim asa yud beis mizbechus, kol achas min yud beis evan. Moshe built 12 distinct altars. Each one consisted of 12 stones. Because in the pasuk it's not clear. It says he built a mizbeach, but then he built 12 matzevis for the 12 shvatim. So one pshat is it's a continuation to mizbeach. He built one mizbeach, and the mizbeach consisted of 12 components for 12 shvatim. The other one says no. He built a mizbeach, and he built 12 matzevis for the 12 shvatim. In other words, each mizbeach was made up of 12, but there were 12 different mizbeachs. What's this? What's this svaras hamachleikas? So you could say you could learn the pasuk in two ways: one altar or 12 altars. No, why does this one learn this way and this one learns this way? Obviously, all these arguments, there's always a need to understand. They come from a certain paradigm, a certain yesoid, a certain mahalach machshav, a certain way of looking at it. And automatically, when they see the pasuk, this is how these Tanaim see the pasuk. Other Tanaim see it in a different way. It doesn't begin with how you teach the pasuk. It begins with how you teach life, with how you see things from a general perspective in many different areas as well. And then it comes across also in this pasuk. In order to understand all of this, we have to learn a Mishnah. The Mishnah is a Maseches Horayos, Daf Daled Amud Beis. The Mishnah should now be pretty easy to understand. Once we learn the Rambam and the Psukim, Meseches Hoyriyus is the tractate in Shas that deals with Hoyriyus from the word Hoyrah, instructions that Bezdin gives to the Jewish people that are mistakes. As the Rambam puts it in his introduction, every human being makes mistakes. Every human being made of flesh and blood makes errors. It's built into Torah that you make mistakes. There's a whole Masechta Hoyriyus, a whole parsha Vayikra and Shlach for mistakes. Not mistakes by small people, mistakes by big people. The greatness of a person is not that he doesn't make mistakes. If he doesn't make mistakes, he's not a person. The greatness of a person is that he makes a mistake and he admits it. He's accountable for it. He can accept it. The moment you find a human being who is incapable of making a mistake, stay far, far away from him. They say there was once a man who told his wife, I never made a mistake in my life. The only mistake I made was back in 72. She said, what happened? He said, I thought I made a mistake. That was his only mistake in life. But generally, people who cannot make mistakes can often become dangerous people. So the Rambam puts this as an introduction. Even the Sanhedrin are capable of error. And it's built into the system. If they make an error, there's a halacha for that also. There's God's plan for that too. It's not the end of the world. That's part of it. The whole concept of tshuva is I made a mistake and I learn from it, I grow from it. So now let's see the Mishnah in Hoyriyus. Davdal Amid Beis. Next source. Zog the Mishnah. Hoyru Bezdin v'asu kol hakol hoyru ben alpiyan. Bezdin gives an instruction and the whole kahal or most. As we said, all of Klal Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael or most. Meviin par, ruba meviin par. They bring a bull. Uba avodas kechavim meviin par v'soyer. And if it's avodah zarah, they bring a bull and a goat. Who brings? Bezdin, Hoyru Bezdin, Divrei Reb Meir. This is the view of Reb Meir. Reb Meir holds, you bring one bull, one goat. Who brings it? The courts. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Yud Beis Shvatim Meviin Yud Beis Parim, Uba avodas kechavim meviin Yud Beis Parim Ushnei Masasir. Rabbi Yehuda says, wrong. 12 Shvatim bring it. They bring 12 bulls, and if it's Avodah Zarah, 12 bulls, 12 goats. Reb Shimon Omer, Yud Gimel Parim. 13 bulls for a regular Aveda, Bavodas Kechavim Shloisha Asa Parim V'Yud Gimel Sirim. 13 bulls, 13 goats. Par V'Soyer L'Chol Shevet V'Shevet, Par V'Soyer L'Bestin. Every Shevet plus the court. So we have 3 views of the Tanaim. Reb Meir makes it very simple. The Sanhedrin is guilty, nobody else is guilty. They told everybody what to do, 71 people. And by the way, it can't be part of the 71 people. It has to be all of the Sanhedrin, or most of them, with nobody disagreeing. Some of them could be absent, including the Mufla Shebedar. The greatest of them has to be among them. And they say this, and everybody does it. Reb Meir says there's one responsibility there. Everybody sinned, but it's because of them. They bring one carbon. They bring a bull. If it's Avodah Zarah, they bring a bull and a goat. That's Reb Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says no. They're responsible. So they bring on behalf of every Shevet, they have to bring 12. Reb Shimon says 13. Every Shevet 1, and there's 12 Shvatim, plus Bezdin 1. 3 opinions. What did we see from the Rambam? Who does he paskin like? Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, or Reb Shimon? Reb Yehuda. The klal generally is Reb Yehuda and Reb Meir halacha ke Reb Yehuda. So the halacha here is embraced as Reb Yehuda's shitta. Reb Yehuda's shitta is every shevet brings one. One bull for each tribe. 12 bulls altogether. And if it's Avodah Zarah, 12 bulls and 12 goats on behalf of every shevet. That's the halacha of Reb Yehuda. What is the logic, the argument between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon? Reb Shimon holds even Bezdin is accountable. But that's already a next step. But what's the argument between the 2 separate views? If it's only Bezdin or it's all of the Shvatim? Zog the Gemara daf hayamid beis. Reb Yehuda Reb Shimon shevet echad ikra kol minalahu. The pshat is Reb Meir says, look at the psukim. The psukim say, v'nelam davar me'enei hakohol. The kohol got lost. The kohol made a mistake. The pasuk says, v'hikrivu hakohol. The kol should be man. Who's the kol? In Parsha Shlach it says, v'im kol adas Yisrael yishgu. In Parsha Vayikra it says, v'im kol adas Yisrael yishgu v'nelam davar me'enei hakol v'hikrivu hakol. It's about Kol Hadas B'nai Yisrael, the Kol. In Parsha Shlach it says again, V'asu Kol Ha'eda. So the Meir says, the Kol is Klal Yisrael. Bezdin represents them, it's one. I can understand Reb Meir. Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda hold, no, it's 12. Where do you get 12? The Pasuk says, V'ikrivu HaKol. The Kol should be Makriv. The Kol is one, a community. There's no 100 communities. Zog the Gemara, Min Nolon, the Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon Shevet Echad, Ikri Kol Min Nolohu. How do Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon say that every Shevet is a separate Kol? There's no Klal Yisrael. That's one. There's 12 Klal Yisrael. There's 12 Kols in Yisrael. Kol Ha'eda is divided by 12. Amri Diksiv, the Pasuk says, you have a Pasuk, Azoi. Vayamoid Yehoshaphat. The Pasuk in Divrei Hayam and Beis, Perek Chaf. There was a king of Yehuda, a king of Judea, his name was Yehoshaphat. Yehoshaphat was facing then enemies from all directions. He was facing an enemy from Ammon that wanted to attack, Moav and Seir, 3 nations who came to fight. He gathered the nation to pray by the Beis HaMikdash. Zog the Pasuk, Vayamod Yehoshaphat b'kahal Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. I'm going to read the pasuk the way it says. Bebeis Hashem lifnei hachatzer hachadash. Yehoshaphat stood among the Kahal of Yehuda and Yerushalayim in the house of Hashem, the Beis Hamikdash, in front of the new courtyard, and they davened. Everybody davened. The Gemara explains what the new courtyard means. If it was a new courtyard that they built, or they were mechadish new halachas with the chatzer, that's a separate inyan in the Gemara over there, but we're focusing on one detail. B'kahal Yehuda. He stood among the Kahal of Yehuda. Yehuda is one tribe, they're called Kahal. So Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, when it says V'ikrivu HaKol, it's a shevet. One shevet is called Kahal. Every shevet is called. Frag the Gemara mimai dilma shayni Yerushalayim dahavanami binyamin. Yerushalayim was populated by 2 tribes, Yehuda and Binyamin. It says, Vayamad Yehoshaphat b'kahal Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. Maybe Yerushalayim means Binyamin. So he stood with 2 Kahals. One shevet is not called Kahal. You need at least 2. At least 2 groups, not 1 group. It says in Parshas Vayechi, Yaakov, before he passes away, tells Yosef, I will multiply you, Yaakov, and I will make you into a kahal, a kol, a community of nations, kahal amim. When does he say this to Yaakov? Yaakov tells us over to Yosef, that when I came back to Eretz Yisrael, after 20 years in the house of your grandfather Lavan, Hashem promised me I'm going to become a kahal. Which other baby did he have afterwards? Only one, Binyamin. 11 tribes were already born before. Who was born in Eretz Yisrael? Binyamin. Shma Mina. From here we see, Hachi Kamer Rachmana. This is what the Torah is saying. You're going to get one boy and he's going to be called a kahal. Binyamin is called kahal because one tribe is called Kahal Yisrael. Kahal. So therefore Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, when the pasuk says, V'im nelam hadavar me'enei hakol, v'ikrivu hakol, who's the kol that's makriv? Not the whole Klal Yisrael. One shevet is already called kahal. So every shevet has to be makriv because all of the shvatim were part of the sin. Because as we said, the majority of Klal Yisrael did this. Either the majority of the shvatim or even the majority of Klal Yisrael, so all the shvatim have to be part of it. Reb Meir says no. Kahal means the whole Jewish people. Kahal means Klal Yisrael. The 12 Shvatim together are called Kahal. Ikrivu HaKol means one carbon. Who brings it? Bezdin on behalf of Klal Yisrael. No 12 Shvatim. That's the Machlokes in Masechta Horayos. The Rambam paskins, as we said, like Rabbi Yehuda, Kahal is every Shevet. We have this in the Rambam. Let's see. Turn over your pages, side 2. Rambam Hilchos Gogas, V'chol par mehen nikra par helam davar shel tzibur. Every bull that they bring is called par helam davar of the tzibur. Shenemar v'hikrivu hakol. Who's the kol? Kol v'kol. I can't say it means every kol of the Jewish people. V'chol shevet v'shevet kari kol. Shenemar v'yamad Yehoshaphat b'kol Yehud. He brings the first pasuk the Gemara brings. It's interesting, he doesn't bring the second pasuk the Gemara brings. He brings the first pasuk. That's a separate discussion why the Rambam chooses the first, not the second, even though it seems that the Gemara rejected the first. Apparently the Rambam holds that you need both psukim. But what do we see here from the Rambam? Clearly, every shevet is called a kahal. If every shevet is called a kahal, when it says the kahal has to bring, and it says it's from the whole Klal Yisrael, and the kahal has to bring, it means I need 12 karbanos. If it's avodah zarah, I need 24, 12 bulls, 12 goats. If it's another aveda besides avodah zarah with a chi of karas, I need to bring only 12 bulls. If this is the case, clear? Come back now to the Balatanya and Reb Moshe Chayfetz. So he asked him the contradiction of the two midrashim. In one medrash, Moshe tells Hashem, I have 10 tzaddikim. God says, I need 10 like Zdoim. He says, here's 10. He gives 7. Hashem says, I need another 3. No problem, I have the 3 of us. The other medrash, he says, I'll give you 80. When he brings 77, it's not enough. I need 80. What's the machlokes? So the Balatanya tells Reb Moshe Chayfetz, it's totally in a machlokes of Tanoim and Shas. He says there's no such a machlokes. He says it's the machlokes in Masechta Horiyos. Horiyos Daf Daled Amud Beis. The argument between Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon versus Reb Meir. What's the argument? If Kahal is Klal Yisrael, or Kahal is Kol Shevet V'Shevet Kori Kahal. The first medrash, Parshas Ki Sisa, follows the view of Reb Meir. The medrash in Parshas Eikev follows the view of Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon. Therefore, if you say the medrash of Parshas Ki Sisa follows the view of Reb Meir, it's perfectly clear. Hashem says, let's treat it like Zdoim. I need 10 tzaddikim for the Jewish people. Moshe Rabbeinu says, no problem. Here are 7. You need another 3 as Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Great. We have 10 tzaddikim that represent Klal Yisrael. I'm going to forgive Klal Yisrael. But if according to Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon, every shevet independently is a mini Klal Yisrael, is a mini call. So if so, I need 10 for every call of Klal Yisrael. Because the two are separate. So if that's the case, we have Azoy. Moshe Rabbeinu comes and says, I'll give you 80 tzaddikim. What's the cheshbon of 80 tzaddikim? Let's think about this. 12 shvatim. But Shevet Levi is out of the equation. Because Shevet Levi did not sin in the golden calf. Mila Hashem Elai. And Kol Shevet Levi, the whole Shevet Levi came about. So Shevet Levi is out. So we're left with 12. Left with 11. So now we need 10 tzaddikim for 11. For 11 shvatim, we need 10 tzaddikim, right? How much is 10 times 11? 110. We're stuck. So no, it works like this. We need for 11 shvatim 10 tzaddikim. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu and he says, here are 77 tzaddikim. 77 is what? 7 times 11. 7 times 11 is 77. Okay, great. Hashem says, but you're missing 3 for every shevet. So he says, no problem, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Which one do Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov go to? They go for everybody. They're the father of Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. No shevet is excluded from Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They're fathers of everybody. Ain't Kari Novas al L'shloisha. So 77 gives me 7 times 11. So for 11 shvatim, I have 7. Each one gets Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So that makes it from 77 to 80. So therefore, automatically, you have 10 tzaddikim for every shevet, according to the shitta that every shevet is kahal. Reb Moshe Chayfetz heard this, and he said, Rabbi, Alufi, Yudai, you're my Rebbe. And he gave him a chair that he said nobody ever, he used this chair, nobody to sit on it, and he was mechabed him with tremendous respect. He sent him away from his city with a tremendous, extraordinary covenant, derech eretz, as he responded this way. Comes the Rakachaver now, and it's interesting. If you look at Medrash Rabbah, there's a commentary. It's called Eitz Yosef and Anaf Yosef. Eitz Yosef and Anaf Yosef are commentators. They don't exist in all the editions of the Midrashim, because there's older editions of the Midrashim that have the older commentators. But Eitz Yosef and Anaf Yosef is a Mefarish that was written by a man named Reb Chanoich Zundel, Reb Yosef of Bialystok. He passed away Tofrei Shchaf, 1859. He lived in Bialystok. He was known as a very big darshan, a very big magid. And he wrote a commentary on Medrash called Eitz Yosef Anaf Yosef. In his Sefer Anaf Yosef, on this Medrash in Kisisa, he brings this vart, and he says, B'Shem HaChasid Hagon, Reb Shnei Zalman Nishmos Eden. He brings it in over there in Anaf Yosef, and already that time he already heard the Shmuah and he wrote it down. Now, according to this, says the Rakachover, somewhere else, you understand the Machlokes in the Mechilta. How many Mizbechas did Moshe Rabbeinu build? Why are they arguing? He says it's the same two people. Reb Meir holds one kahal. If there's one kahal, you build one altar. And you put in all the shvatim there. The Chachamim say, as we learned in the Mechilta, that it was Yud Beis Mizbechas. Why? Every Shevet is its own kahal. Because every Shevet is its own kahal, every Shevet gets its own altar, its own Mizbeach. Granted. So this explains that. But now, what do we say lahalacha? Lahalacha we say that every shevet is called kahal. That's why the Rambam says you have to bring 12 or 24. It also makes sense that the Medrash Rabbi in Parshas Ekev is a later Medrash, Basrai, it's a later one, and it follows the shitta that every shevet is kahal. So he needed 80 people, not 10 people, not 7 people. But now we come to the next step. What is the next step? That the Rambam showed us there's still a difference between the Avodah Zarah carbon and the other carbon. By the Avodah Zarah carbon, the Sifri says one is ma'akiv. If one sheva doesn't bring kaput, it's not good. Other carbonas, you don't need that. And the Rambam therefore made that difference. You remember that difference? That by the regular carbonas, the Rambam said, Mevi kol shevet v'shevet, every shevet brings. By the Avodah Zarah, he says, you bring from every shevet. Not mevi kol shevet v'shevet, mevi in parley of asar lechatas mikol shevet v'shevet. In other words, there's one ma'isa hava. They bring it from every shevet. You have to go and bring it from all. In the second situation, a regular avera, every shevet has to bring. There's a separate ma'isa hava. There's a separate bring from every shevet. Why? Because if one doesn't bring, it doesn't affect the other one. What is now the distinction here? So in other words, even according to Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon, there's still a difference. Here there has to be by Avodah Zarah v'chiper al kol adas b'nei Yisrael. You have to create a kapara for what's the lashon? V'chiper akoyin al kol adas b'nei Yisrael v'nislach l'chol adas b'nei Yisrael. It has to be one slicha. So if one sheva doesn't bring it, it's ma'akiv, it's not good. By the other avedis, you don't say that. They all have to bring a carbon, but one is not ma'akiv the other. What would be now the difference? So now, we come to the next step. To understand a little deeper, what's the real argument? If every shevet is called kahal or not? And even if every shevet is called kahal, Avodah Zarah is still different. So here, I'm going to introduce you to a term that is brought often in the works of the Tzafnas Paanach, the Rakachover Gaon, from the Rambam. The Rambam has, of course, his works on halacha, Pirush HaMishnayos, Mishnah Torah, Sefer HaMitzvahs, etc. And then the Rambam has his philosophical works. Among them, most important and most known is Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide for the Perplexed. Generally, throughout Jewish history, the two fields did not converge. There was halacha and there was philosophy. You had people who were masters in both. Reb Sadia Gaon, the Rambam, the Ramban, the Ralbag, Barbanel, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, Rabbi Yosef Olboy, some of the great Maharal of Prague, some of the great Choikrim of Machshavas Yisrael, who produced great works in philosophy, and they were also great Balei Halacha. But it was two distinct models. One of the few people who saw halacha through the prism of philosophy and learned philosophy through the prism of halacha. In other words, Mishnah Torah and Moreh Nevuchim of the Rambam, for him were one sefer, was a Rakachover Gaon. And it was a chiddush of a zach, it was a phenomenon. He explains Moreh Nevuchim through halacha, explains halacha through Moreh Nevuchim. One of the terms that the Rambam discusses in Moreh Nevuchim is two types of connections, two types of mixtures. It's a philosophical term, brought a lot in the Rambam and other works of philosophy, and it's known as Harkava Shchenis versus Harkava Mizgis. Harkava means to bring things together, to blend, to mix. Harkava, laharkiv yachad, to bring together. Harkava Shchenis means bringing together neighbors. Shchenis from the word shchenim. It's a mixture due to two things being like neighbors. Harkava Mizgis means it's a blend that is created by a mixture of two things. They're not neighbors, but they're mixed together. What do we mean by this? So let's give an example. We have a shiur right now happening. People are sitting together. Everybody sitting in this room has a connection by the very fact that we're sitting together in the same room and we're learning Torah. We are shchenim. You may even be touching somebody else's hand, but there's you and there's the other person. You're brought close together like two neighbors who lived near each other their whole life. You take a salad and you mix into the salad. You have vegetables, you have tomatoes, you may put parsley, you may put pepper, you may put avocado, you may put tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers. Cut them into small pieces, they're mixed together. This is called Harkava Shchenis. And you could separate one from the other. You could go away from your friend. You could take out the onions from the salad. You could take out the lettuce or the tomato from the salad. Some kids don't like peppers. They make sure to take out the peppers. Not on Shabbos because of boirer, but you could take it out, so, theoretically speaking. If you want to take out the bad from the good, you don't do that on Shabbos. Because of boirer, you take out the good from the bad if you're going to eat it right away with your hands. Or with a fork or a spoon, whatever. That's all Harkava Shchenis. People together. You know, sometimes you sit on a plane near somebody else for 21 hours. You become friends by default. But then what happens? Have a wonderful time. You never see each other again. Maybe you exchange an email. I don't know. But fine. You were shchenim and then you separate. That's Harkava Shchenis. Harkava Mizgis means there's a mizug. The two are blended together. For example, you mix wine into water. You mix wine into water, now separate. Now separate. Any drop of liquid you're going to take is going to be a mixture of wine and water. Fafalin. It's over. By the salad, the Rambam gives a mashal chitim and kitnius. You mix beans, legumes, into chitim, into grain, into kernels of grain. Kernels of legumes into kernels of grain. It's mixed, but it's Harkava Shchenis. It's not Harkava Mizgis. You could separate the two. And if I take one piece, I don't have both. I have one. However, mayim and yayin, wine and water, and now any part that you take, you have everything. That's generally the difference between Harkava Shchenis and Harkava Mizgis. Another example would be lisha, when you knead. You take particles of flour and you mix them with water, and you knead it into an isa, into a flour, into a dough. Now what happens? Any part of the dough you take, what do you have? Flour and water mixed. This is called Harkava Mizgis. It's not Harkava Shchenis. The particles of flour before you mix them with water are Harkava Shchenis. One particle near another particle. Once you mix it with water, it becomes one chativa, one essence. It's interesting, the Maharal, I think in Netzach Yisrael, explains brilliantly that there's a medrash that the world exists because of three mitzvahs. Shloisha dvarim nivra olam. Bikurim, Trumas and Maestras, and Chala. Bikurim, Trumas. So the Maharal says it's not just three mitzvahs. It represents three different stages of reality. Bikurim, what's Bikurim? You come to your garden and you see a new fig. A fig just got ripe. So you wrap your Kairech Aleh Gemi, you new translate. You tie a ribbon on top of it and you say, Harezu Bikurim, this is Bikurim. A new fig. You have a new pomegranate. You have a new grape. And you fill up your basket with the new fruits of Shivas Haminim. Each fruit, when it becomes ripe, you fill it in your basket, you bring it to Yerushalayim, you give it to the Kohen. The march of Bikurim that used to start after Shavuos and continued for the next months, where every farmer would come to the Beis HaMikdash and bring Bikurim. That's mitzvah number one. Mitzvah number two is Trumas and Maestras. Trumas and Maestras is, you don't go to a tree and take a fig and say, here, Kohen, come, here's a fig. A grape. You take a grain and you say, here. No, there's a process. There has to be what's called miruach and keri. Gmar melachet, Trumas and Maestras. You harvest the grain. Then after harvesting the grain, you have to thresh the grain. And you have to winnow the grain. And you have to separate the dirt from the grain. And then you take all the kernels together and you make a kerry, you make a big pile, a big mound, and miruach, you smoothen it out, and that's called gmar malacha. It's ready for storage, and that's when it becomes mechuyev and trumas and maestros. Yes, there are people who do it before, and it becomes complicated in halacha after kerry and miruach, gmar malacha. That's the second mitzvah, trumas and maestros, that you give to koyanim and leviim and poor people. Meiser Sheni, Meiser Ani, Meiser Rishon, Truma. And then you have the third mitzvah, Challah. When do you do Challah? You don't take kernels of grain and do Challah. You have to grind it into flour. And you have to mix the flour with water. And you have to turn it into an isa, into a dough. And then it becomes Mechuyev and Challah. So the Maharal says, and we'll soon understand the deeper dimension here, this represents three states of reality. Achdus, Harkava Shchenis, and Harkava Mizgis. Achdus is one fruit, the way it is. I take the fig. Harkava Shchenis is what? A pile of kernels in one mountain. Miruach, kerry. That's Harkava Shchenis, their neighbors. And then of dough, this is already Harkava Mizgis. It's a third component. So you have singular reality, a mixture, but not a complete mixture of a blend where they become integrated as one. And then you have the third level, which is a dough. That is Harkava Mizgis. Now, let's go one step deeper, and in our generations we have terminology for this. I should say, already the Tashbitz, who was one of the Rishonim, explains some very profound halachas of Shatnez and Kilayim based on the idea of the Rambam of Harkava Shchenis versus Harkava Mizgis. That means already one of the Rishonim was using a classic philosophical term of Meir Nevuchim to explain Hilchas Kilayim. Now, before we go to the next step, let me show you an interesting example in halacha, how this is expressed from the Rakachava's perspective. There's a Gemara in Shabbos, take a look at the next source. Shabbos Tzadikei Amid Beis. Megaben chayav mishamai, mishamboina. Megaben means, from the word gvina, curdling milk into cheese. I don't know how many of you, probably the Ezras Noshim knows a little more about this, ever curdled milk into cheese. It's a fascinating process. How do you make from milk cheese? You have to take the milk, they would put rennet into it or some other enzymes that basically curdles the pieces, some pieces that become potentially hard, and then what's called the whey, the liquid that departs from the cheese. This is a process that's forbidden on Shabbos, beating the milk into cheese. Why, asks the Gemara? Mishum boina. You're building. You're basically creating a house. That's what you're doing. You're taking milk, which is liquid, and you turn it into a structure. It's called gvina, mishum boina. Take your Yerushalmi, Masechta Shabbos, Perek Zayin Halacha Beis, HaMegaben, Chayiv Mishum Losh. Yerushalmi says it's not boina, it's losh. You're kneading. You take particles of flour, you mix in water, and you make a dough. Here too, you made a piece of cheese. From liquid, you made a cheese. Yerushalmi. Boina and losh are both Avos Malachas on Shabbos. They're both one of the 39 Avos Malachas. What's the machlokes? What are they arguing about? So the Rakachava says, Tzafnas Paanach, Shal Sechuvas Dvinsk, Zetalye Mavar Cover Shchenis and Mizgis. There's a huge philosophical argument here. Is it called Harkava Shchenis or Harkava Mizgis? I shouldn't say philosophical. A huge argument in chemistry. When you curdle milk into cheese, is the cheese called Harkava Shchenis? The pieces are neighbors, or it's Harkava Mizgis? The pieces are now mixed together as one. What's the difference between boina and losh? When you build a house, you don't build a house of one piece of material. You have so many diverse types of materials and they all come together in a house. But it's Harkava Shchenis. You have one brick here and a brick here, a plank of wood here, a plank of wood here, a screw here and a nail there, a beam here and a beam there. It's Harkava Shchenis. Losh, as we said, kneading a dough, is Harkava Mizgis. When I take a brick of the house, I don't have every other brick. I have one brick. When I take a piece of dough, I have the dough, the flour, and the water mixed together. I can't say, oh, here you get the flour, here you get the water, unless you didn't mix it well. If you make it a dough, it's one mitzias. What would be the big difference in halacha? There's differences in halacha. I'll bring out one. Quite an interesting difference. Take a look. There's a Tosfos in Shabbos, Tzadikei Amid Aleph. Umiyu teimeleri, kiven the mutalagaben b'yamtiv min ha'Torah. Since you're allowed to curdle milk into cheese on Yom Tov min ha'Torah because oichel nefesh, you want food, afilu be'efsher, even if you could have done it before. Because min ha-Torah, you could do every malacha for Eichel Yom Tov, for Eichel Nefesh on Yom Tov. Afilu be'efsher. Afilu lo yehi mutter midirabanan ela b'delo yefsher. And even if midirabanan, it's only mutter if you couldn't do it out of Yom Tov. Im kain, nafal beise b'Yom Tov, yehi mutter livnoise b'Yom Tov. A question. If your house fell down on Yom Tov, you should be permissible to do construction on Yom Tov. The metoich shehuta binyan l'tzayrich, the megaben have a mishum boine kedama besamoch, huter nami shaloi l'tzayrich. We have a klal in Hilchas Yom Tov. The halach is like Beis Hillel, Beitza Yud Beis, metoich shehuta l'tzayrich, huter nami shaloi l'tzayrich. Am I allowed to carry my keys on Yom Tov? Yeah. Am I allowed to carry my machzor on Yom Tov? Yeah. Why? The Torah says you're only allowed to do malacha for cooking. The answer is Beis Hillel, unlike Beis Shammai, holds metoich shehuta l'tzayrich, huter nami shaloi l'tzayrich. Once it's permissible for what need for Eichel Nefesh, it's already permissible for everything. As long as you need to do it on Yom Tov. As long as there's Tzorech Hayom. I need the keys in order to open my house. I need the machzor to go daven Rosh Hashanah. As long as there's a need. Therefore, Beis Hillel learns when the Torah says you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov, you're allowed to do malachas for cooking on Yom Tov, it doesn't mean you're allowed to do malachas for cooking. The Torah was megala that those types of malachas that you usually do for cooking, you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. It's a gilui milsa. It's telling me whatever you do for Eichel Nefesh, you're allowed to do for Yom Tov. Beis Shammai holds it's a very limited heter. If you want to cook, you're allowed to do it. Beis Hillel says no. Any type of malacha that you do for cooking, you're allowed to do on Yom Tov, even not for cooking. So I could carry a shul, I could carry a Yom Tov for Siddur, even though it's not for cooking. Because I could carry for Yom Tov, on Yom Tov. Why? Because you need to carry for food, you need to carry. I'm going to eat by you, I bring you a kugel. Frek Tosfos, if so, you should be allowed to build on Yom Tov. Why? Why? If you say curdling milk into cheese is boina, and you're allowed to curdle on Yom Tov min ha-Torah because it's Eichel Nefesh, so you should build a house on Yom Tov. No problem. As long as it's a hot day and you don't want to get suntan, burnt, so therefore you need a house. You're allowed to do construction on Yom Tov. It's not for cooking. If megabin is a din in boina, so that means Torah allows you to do boina on Yom Tov. Because it's an inyan that's negate Eichel Nefesh. So it's like cooking, it's like carrying. Question of Tosfos. You should be allowed to build on Yom Tov. Build your house on Yom Tov. Construction permissible on Yom Tov. You see somebody who says you're allowed to build a house on Yom Tov, it's a svara in Tosfos. V'yashloimar, you're right. You're allowed to. Min ha-Torah, you're allowed to build your house on Yom Tov if you need to live there Yom Tov. If you want to sit outside a whole day and you're comfortable, then you're not allowed to. But if it's Tzorech Hayom, you're allowed to. The Chazal, the rabbi, said no because it has a mundane dimension to it. Just like they said you shouldn't grind kernels into flour on Yom Tov. You shouldn't sift flour on Yom Tov, even though it's Eichel Nefesh. Min ha-Torah, you're allowed to do it. But they said Mitzad Uvdin Dechel, and you could do it before Yom Tov, these things. Here he says it's Mitzad Uvdin Dechel. But what do we see from Tosfos here? That Min ha-Torah, you're allowed to build on Yom Tov. That's only if you say Megaben Chayav Mishum Boina. But if you say Megaben Chayav Mishum Losh, then you're not allowed to build Yom Tov Min ha-Torah. How could you build on Yom Tov? There's no binyan that's Eichel Nefesh. So binyan is not mutter. Granted. What's the machloikas here? Harkava Shchenis or Harkava Mizgis. Now, let's go one step further. We explain the difference of our cover shchenis and mizgis as people sitting together by a shear, making a salad, mixing in different vegetables into the salad versus water and wine getting mixed. But I want to now take it a step deeper. If you want to go deeper, even when you mix liquids together, it's still harkava shchenis. It's not harkava mizgis. And here we have to understand the difference between a physical mixture and a chemical compound. I don't mean to take you back to chemistry in high school. Maybe some will learn it for the first time, but there's a difference between a physical mixture and a chemical compound. Let's explain. In a physical mixture, the components retain their original properties and they can be separated. Either they can be separated mechanically, like solids. You mix apples and oranges, you mix a bunch of vegetables in a salad with each other, you mix particles of grain, you mix kernels of grain and many other kernels of different vegetables or different grains or different legumes, and you could separate it. Sometimes in solutions, you can't separate it mechanically, but you can separate it physically. Let's take, for example, anybody here eats tea, it drinks tea with sugar cubes? You take your sugar cubes and you dissolve your sugar cubes into the tea. Is this harkava shchenis or harkava mizgis? The tea and the sugar now become a cholent. Better than a cholent. A cholent is harkava shchenis. It's better than a cholent. The tea and the sugar become mixed together, right? Once it dissolves, you put the sugar in the tea is part of the sugar. But even in this case, the result is that the tea becomes sweet, and you can't look at you take a spoon of tea and you say, here's the tea, here's the sugar. No, the sugar ultimately sweetens the entire tea. So it's l'chayra harkava mizgis. So you can't take a sifter and pour the tea into a sifter and have the sugar remain on top and the tea come down on the bottom, unlike in the other examples we gave before, because it's not harkava shchenis, it's harkava mizgis. That's true. But what happens if you boil the water into a steam? What happens if you take it and you boil the water very, very hot into a steam? You know what's going to happen? It's going to leave a residue of sugar. So that means that even though the mixture is deeper than with harkava shchenis, and any part of the tea you're going to have is going to be sweet tea, but it's not integration where you made a new mitzias, a new entity, that is not tea or sugar, it's a new type of reality. No, you did not do that. It's true, it's not divisible. I can't just split the two into two. Can't split the tea into two, even with a filter or sifter. But you didn't make a new reality, a whole new type of chefza that is not tea, not sugar, it's a new reality. You didn't do that. Just like by a salad, you didn't make a new reality. It's a reality that is a mixture here, it's also a mixture. It's just not so easy to separate. Other things you could separate with your hands. Sometimes with a filter, sometimes with a sifter. That's what we call boiler. With tea, you have to bring the water into a hot boil, and then it will leave a residue of sugar. What this means is that you didn't create anything really new. What you created was sweet tea. It's not a new reality. It's tea that's sweet. That's what you did. But now let's talk about chemical compounds. Chemical compounds is a whole different reality. You basically take atoms of the compounded elements which combine together. Different atoms, different types of atoms that compound together, and they form molecules. They form molecules of a new substances. The properties now are not like those of the original elements. For example, we don't have to look far. Let's take water here, Zabissel Wasser, right? What is water? Every drop of water is a combination of what? Of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. And as these atoms come together, they form what's called molecule of water or molecules of water. What happened here? Here is where you have the real harkava mizgis. It's not you dissolved sugar cubes into tea. Here, you create a whole new identity, a whole new reality. It's called water. It's not called hydrogen. It's not called oxygen. Here the items come together and they create a whole new reality. This is what a chemical compound means. That would be an example of harkava mizgis on a deeper level. Such a compound is formed through a chemical reaction. And only another chemical reaction can break it up. How exactly are you going to break up the hydrogen, separate the hydrogen and the oxygen from the water? What are you going to do? You're going to put it through a filter and the hydrogen will be separated. You'll boil the water. No. You created a new chefza, a new reality by the different atoms coming together creating a molecule. You need a chemical reaction to break it up. That's a deeper level of harkava mizgis. So now let's come back to our discussion here with the Jewish people. When you look at the Jewish people, what do you see? What do you see of the Jewish people? I'll take a drop of water if you don't mind. Harkava Mizgis. We're going to talk about Harkava Mizgis now, so I'll digest a little bit of Harkava Mizgis. So now, let's bring it together. And let's learn a shtickle from the Ragachover inside, Tzafnas Paanach, Madura Tinyana, right after the Tosfos, you see. And here is where it comes together. Zog the Ragachover. Yesh nafke minne bein helem dover gabe shara vedes de chiyuv kares. The oz ledidon mevi kol shevet korban b'fnei atzme begede prat. There's a big difference between the helem davar by other avedas, where there's a chiyuv kares, that according to us means according to Rabbi Yehuda, which is the halacha, every shevet brings its own korban begeder prat. Every tribe is seen as an individual entity. Every shevet is a kol. The ve'ein ma'akvin zeh kedemucha with the Rabbeinu b'hilchos gagas. And kedemucha, when you learn well the words of Rabbeinu, the Rambam and Hilchos gagas, they don't stop one another. I bring my shevet brings, your shevet brings. We're not dependent on each other. Why? We're individuals. Aval al shigigas avodah zarah. When it comes to a mistake avodah zarah, ma'akvin hashvatim zeh kemavur b'sifri. The Sifri says over here, the Shvatim stop one another. V'ayin b'loshen Rabbeinu. This is what I said before. Look at the words of Rabbeinu, the Rambam, the Nokat Mevi'in Mikol Shevet. V'gabe Sharei Ro'as Sheigas Kares Kosav Mevi. Yu'uyon Sham. Back to that Rambam that we discussed earlier, remember? By Sheigas Avodah Zarah, it says, they bring from all the Shvatim. They bring from every Shevet the carbon. By a regular Aveda, it says every Shevet brings. Here it's one Mevi'in from all the Shvatim. In other words, it's one act. So if one says, I'm not coming, I didn't bring anything, stop it, it's worthless. The other one, he says, by a regular, maybe kol shevet, you bring and I bring. You didn't bring, I still brought. A diuk in the Rambam, it's all the Sifri. Not like those who say it's the same, completely different. In other words, even, so this is very interesting. This is almost like Reb Meir. Every shevet brings, but they're all dependent on another. It's like one. It's not like 12, it's like one. So Reb Meir holds only one carbon for the whole Klal Yisrael. Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon hold every shevet gets a carbon. Every shevet. But by Avodah Zarah, each one depends on the other one as though it would be one. It's like 12 which become one. That's the difference. Al kol panim. So now he gives us his explanation in around 6 words, and we have to figure it out. Al kol panim, gabe shigigas avodah zarah, sham hakapara al kol Yisrael begeder nekuda she'ena mischalekes u begeder harkava mizgis. By avodah zarah, the atonement is on all of the Jewish people as a nekuda, as a seminal, indivisible point, as harkava mizgis, as a blend of a chemical compound which is one. Kivon Shemipi Hagvura Shamanu. Because Avodah Zarah is the only mitzvah that we heard directly from Hashem. Everything we heard from Moshe. The Gemara says, Makas, Anoichi v'lo yelecha, right? Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Torah is the numerality, is the gematria, the numerical value, Taf Vav Reish, Taf Rish Yud Aleph. Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe gave us 611 mitzvahs. Either 613, Anoichi v'lo yelecha, mipi hagvura shmanu. The first 2 commandments, I am your God, don't have any other gods, and Munah and Avodah Zarah, mipi hagvura shmanu. That's his explanation. That's why it's a nekuda. Klal Yisrael is one. There's no division here. It's harkava mizgis. It's a chemical compound. There's no distinctiveness. V'chein ba'avnei ephod. Now see how this expresses itself in so many different places. The Kohen Gadol wore 8 garments, right? 2 of them had the names of all the Shvatim. Why? We're afraid that you're going to read one, you're going to forget it, you need to see another one. The Choshen, the breastplate had on every stone the name of one of the Shvatim. He had 12 stones, right? The Arba Turim, the 4 lines of the Choshen and Parshas Tetzaveh, and each one had the name of a Shevet with its color. But then on the ephod, which was the apron, he had 2 straps coming down, and there he had 1 rock here, 1 rock there, and he had all the names of the Shvatim. So the Rakatshava says, what's the difference? Choshen is Harkava Shchenes. Ephod is Harkava Mizgis, meaning, Avnei ephod mechaprim al avodah zarah k'mavur b'zvachim. The Gemara in Zvachim Peiches says that the stones of the ephod atoned for avodah zarah. Hayukol hashvatim u'ravin zebazek k'mavur b'saita. So Saita Lamed Vav, by the ephod, all the shvatim are mixed in. Because when it comes to avodah zarah, there's complete oneness. Mipi agvura shamanu. Just like by the par helam davar for avodah zarah, all the shvatim are ma'akev one another. So the avnei ephod here, they're all mixed in one. By the Choshen, every Shevet is separate. Kol, it has its own Kol, Harkava Shchenes. Aval Kabei Chatos Kol, the other Chatos that the Kol brings for a regular Aveda, Kol Sharchei Avi Krisis, have a Kol Shevet Nifred, Dak Begeder Harkava Shchenes. Every Shevet is separate. They're connected to each other like neighbors. We're good neighbors. Good fences, good neighbors make. We're all individuals. The Shvatim are like a family. It's a Kol. They come along together as Harkava Shchenes. When it comes to Avodah Zarah, Klal Yisrael is Harkava Mizgis. Va'az im heimir echad mishevet zal carbon shel shevet acher ein eloike. L'may nafkamina, he brings a whole new nafkamina. There's a din of carbon tmura. What's tmura? Tmura is Parshas B'chukoisai. I have a sheep. I dedicate my sheep as a carbon. And then I say, you know what? This sheep, I have B'Yerusha for my Elta Baba from Farde Krieg. I don't want to give it up. I'll take another sheep, maybe even a nicer sheep. Lo Yamir, you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to exchange one carbon. They're both carbonas. You have to bring them both as carbonas. That's the din of Tmura. I cannot do Tmura on your carbon. I could do Tmura. I take your sheep. I say I want to exchange it on that. Now you have to bring 2. You don't have to. It's my problem. I can't take your watch and give it to the Beis HaMikdash. Doesn't work that way. Carbon hashutfin. What if we're partners? So it's interesting. I can't make it a din Tmura, but it's an Aveira. I'm not allowed to make it Tmura. I get Malkus because I have ownership over it, because it's a partnership carbon. So the Rakatshava says, here's the question. Im heimer echad mishevet zal carbon shall shevet acher. Think about this. We do avodah zarah by mistake. I'm Shevet Reuven, you're Shevet Shimon. We're both bringing our goats. I take your goat. I take and I exchange one on another. It doesn't work because whenever there's a carbon of many people, you don't have the authority to redefine the other person's animal. But it's an Isser. It's an Isser of Malchus. So he says, what about here in this case? Did you do an Isser? So he says it depends. If it was a regular Aveda, it's Harkava Shchenes. So even though my goat and my bull and your bull are going together, it's 2 separate realities, like 2 families living near each other. So now I take my goat, I exchange it on your goat, it's worthless. I take my house and I exchange it with your house. So it becomes my house, it's ridiculous. It's over, it's nothing. But by Avodah Zarah, he's Mechadish, it's Harkava Mizgis. It's like one. I have part in you, you have part in mine, so therefore there's a din Tmur, there's a din of Malchus, even though it doesn't work because it's a carbon atzib, it's a carbon of a community. Gabe Avodah Zarah, kol hashvatim ikiv behem. By Avodah Zarah, all the shvatim amakiv, there's a shamanim epi agvura. This we heard from Hashem. Lo shayich chiluk zman o makim. There can't be a division of space or time. There's no division of space by God. There's no division of time. Before, after, east, west, here, there. V'kulam b'skira achas. Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. Everyone is skira. Skira means a scan. Liskar. Everybody, it says, kulam Rosh Hashanah. Kulam niskarin b'skira achas. He scans everybody in one scan. And then the Gemara says, Oivrin yachad kibnei morin. They pass by like sheep. Which one is it? 2 separate realities. Harkava Shchenes, Harkava Mizgis. There's each one passing, and then there's one scan. It's one reality. There's no difference. It's a chemical compound. It's a water molecule, even though there's many atoms that make up the water molecule. When it comes to another helim davar, every shevet is on its own. Chazal say by Matan Torah, you go up, Aaron goes up, everyone had their own mechitza because both components are true. There's Moshe mechitza b'fnei atzmai, Aaron mechitza b'fnei atzmai, even in one shevet. And then there's the element of Avodah Zarah of Harkava Mizgis. What does this mean? What does this mean? I'll give an example from another realm completely, and you'll see how it fits in. The Jacobson has a chiddush, also a chiddush maftia. He says, why by a mikveh can't you make a mikveh of mayim shuvim? It's a strange, interesting thing. You have a mikveh, you want a pool of water, you should be able to go in and become pure. You need rainwater, or natural water, spring water. Mayim shuvim, what's mayim shuvim? Mayim, water that's drawn by human activity. I go to a sink, I fill up a barrel of water, I put it in the mikveh. If the mikveh is made up from that water, it's not good. Unless, of course, the different mechanisms in halacha, hashaka, zriya, how you make the mikveh part of a natural body of water. But it has to be a natural body of water. So the Jacobson is mechadish, and he says that the water of a mikveh is not harkava shchenis, it's harkava mizgis. The 40 sa'ah that make up a mikveh are not 40 distinct measurements of water that happen to come together in a bathtub. Not in a bathtub, in a mikveh. It's harkava mizgis. Halachically, the halacha views this body of water as one singular entity. And he says, therefore, if a human being makes up the body of water, a human being, by definition, lives in a world of fragmentation. He cannot create that type of harkava mizgis. He only creates harkava shchenis. Therefore, the mikveh needs harkava mizgis. And therefore, it has to be natural, it has to be divine. Because harkava mizgis comes from the divine. It comes from the divine quality. To be able to transform two separate things into a new entity that is not defined by one or the other, into a whole new entity. It's not tea and sugar, it's a whole new reality. What does this mean? What does this mean? So let's take one example. What is a mikveh used for? A mikveh is used for people who are impure and they want to become pure. What is impurity? Impurity means that the person is separated from a world of oneness. The world is one. A person is one. The soul and the body are one. The whole universe is one. Einoid mulvada, everything is one. But we live in a fragmented universe, and sometimes I could behave in a way in which I become separated from oneness. I want to now go back into a world of oneness. I need harkava mizgis. I need water which is completely one, that's a divine creation. When else do people use a mikveh? People use a mikveh, it's essential to a marital relationship. What is marriage? Answer this question. Harkava shchenis or harkava mizgis? What does it mean to be married? It's a dormitory. A yeshiva dormitory is harkava shchenis. You could dorm with a bacha for 16 years in yeshiva. But it's harkava shchenis. At least we hope so. Your neighbors, that's what you are. Yeah? You sit with a chavrusa, your neighbors. What is marriage? Is marriage, okay, now the dormitory changes from a boy to a girl. That's not marriage. Some people view marriage that way. But if that's the attitude, it's really not going to work. It's a whole different reality. But you're dealing with opposite people, and it's not easy. Here, Darash Rabbi Akiva Masechta Sotah Daf Yud Zayin, Ish v'isha zachu, Shechina shriya b'neihem. The Shechina dwells among them. Why do you need a Shechina? So the Jacobson says, because you have to create harkava mizgis. You need to create a chemical compound. It's not two people getting along, tea and sugar. Now the question is, who's the tea and who's the sugar? Now, tea and sugar is not such a bad marriage, by the way. It's better than a salad, right? It's better than a salad. But it's tea and sugar. And you boil the water up, so it gets hot and the two get separated. With the heat, the two get separated. Harkava mizgis is a different type of reality. Harkava mizgis is marriage is not about a man, it's not about a woman. It's the man and the woman are recreated into a new mitzias, into a molecule of water, into a new entity. That's a whole different type of relationship. There's oneness. Ish v'isha become one. Why? Because there's Yud and Hey. Rabbi Akiva says Yud and Hey come together, and the divine name is indivisible. Stam interessant. V'hayu lebasar echad. One flesh. Not just physically, emotionally, spiritually, existentially. Now, in order for the two to become one, they also have to be two. If the oxygen atom and the hydrogen atom want to destroy each other and don't respect each other's boundaries, you're not going to have water. What creates water is that you have hydrogen and you have oxygen. And each one contributes its unique properties, and together they create up a new chefza called water. That's why you need the individual. But what is capable of happening? Harkava mizgis, only of the Shechina. Because we're not the same, we're separate. I have my ego, you have your ego. I have my shtick, you have your shtick. I have my idiosyncrasies, you have your idiosyncrasies. I got my mashagasan, you have your mashagasan. I have my insecurities, you have your insecurities. I don't know about you, I know about me. But everyone, Baruch Hashem, has a baggage and a peckle, and if you don't believe me, you can ask your therapist, and if you don't believe him, you can ask your mother-in-law. And if you don't believe her, you can ask your wife. And she'll be at Masbi B'tuf Tam Vadas. Perhaps. Unless it's our Kavah Mizgis, and then she'll say, we have an issue. You have an issue or we have an issue. It's a different mahalach. Miksha achazov. The menorah had to be miksha achazov. Miksha achas means it becomes indivisible. You can't say this is from the foot, this is from the head. It becomes one new entity. Miksha achazov. So now the mikveh is used before intimacy, before relationship. Why? Because in order to be able to create a relationship where there's oneness, oneness comes from one source. As long as I'm living in a fragmented imagination, you are you, I am I can't become one with you. I could be a good neighbor at best, and that's also not so bad. It's also not so simple to be a good neighbor, because I want you, you want me. I want your territory, you want my territory. But at least I could learn respect. The more I go back to the source, deeper and deeper and deeper, the more diversity merges into oneness. We spoke about Tzvir Saimer once with Leinagu Kavod Zebaz, the Rabbi Akiva and other Tanoim. We spoke last week. What did we speak last week? What was last week? Also a Shavar. The Oisius, exactly. The Oisius. Oh, you remember. Are they separate or they're cohesive? Similar word. The world is a Rishus HaRabim. Everything is separate. It comes from one source. Hashem Echad. Ein Oid Milvade. There's a oneness. But the more godliness is concealed in the universe, the more we experience a separation. The more I can experience the divine space in every reality, the more I could see the oneness of the universe. The closer I get back to explore the spiritual divine core, the chiyus of Elokus, the godliness of every aspect in the universe, and suddenly the world becomes one. So it graduates from separation to neighbors, to mixtures, to chemical compounds. We move on and on and on. So the Maharal says, the Medrash says the world was created for three things: for Bikurim, and then you go to Truma and Meiser, and then you go to Chala, with this complete oneness, where the particles are not separate anymore. All the particles become integrated together with the water, and it's an indivisible world. It's Harkava Mizgis. But we live in a fragmented world. So Reb Meir, from the word Oir, Reb Meir is the word Oir, light. The Gemara says in Erev in Yud Gimel that Reb Meir was deeper than everybody. Why is the halacha not like him? Because nobody can understand what he was talking about. Lo yardu chachamim lamed al soiv daitai. Because by Reb Meir the world was one. Everything was one. The Gemara says, the Medrash says in Bereshis, they looked in the Sefer Torah of Reb Meir. It didn't say kosnus or with an ayin. It said kosnus or with an aleph. Adam and Chava put on tunics of leather. No, tunics of light. What type of Sefer Torah is this? You start changing letters. Reb Meir had a different Sefer Torah. What is this, a new halacha? The pshat is that Reb Meir saw an oir. He had the same oir like everybody else, but he saw an oir. In the oir, what is oir? Oir is cover. Oir is skin. Oir is a cloak. Oir is leather. Oir is a garment, a beged. Reb Meir didn't see the covering. Reb Meir saw the light through. He saw always the light. That's why he could learn from Elisha ben Avuy. The Gemara says, how can he learn from Elisha ben Avuy? Everybody else disregarded Elisha ben Avoy, he was a heretic. What does the Gemara say? Toichai achal uklipasei zarak. He could discard the shell from the inside. It wasn't a problem. He took the inside. So the Maggid of Mizrich says, 1 second. The Gemara doesn't make sense. What do you do first? You get rid of the shell, or you first take out the inside? First you take off the shell. Yeah, what do you do with a banana or an orange? You first peel the shell, yeah? It says, Toichei achal uklipasei zarak. The pshat is, the reason he could be klipasei zarak is because he right away sees the toich through the klippa. It doesn't disturb, it doesn't block him. He sees the oneness everywhere. Everywhere he sees oneness. That's Reb Meir. So when he looks at the Jewish people, it's an indivisible nation. Oir, he sees the lichtigkeit, nothing blocks, no divisions. Whenever Reb Meir stands up in front of Jews, he sees complete oneness. Indivisible oneness. So when the Torah says, Kahal, who's Kahal? Kahal is Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon are different madrega. Shimon is from Lashon Shmiya, hearing. It's not Meir, it's not Re'iyah. What's the difference between seeing and hearing? What's the difference between seeing and hearing? When you see something, let's say you go into a house. You see a beautiful dining room, a living room. Which part do you see? You see everything. You see the klal. Then you start analyzing the details. What about when you hear a story? What do you hear? Detail by detail by detail, and then you bring together the pratim into the klal. It's two different experiences of life. In Reb Meir, you see the klal right away, you see oneness. Reb Shimon and Shmiya, no, there's details. And in the details, you then put together the klal. Reb Yehuda is also not Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda comes from the word hoidah, hapam oides Hashem. It's not seeing, it's submission, it's hoidah. Reb Yehuda and Reb Shimon say, we can't experience in halacha the oneness of Klal Yisrael as one. Kol shevet v'shevet ikrika. A shevet represents a tribe, a mahalach. Kriyas Yamsuf, the sea split into 12 tribes. Every soul has its destiny, its derech, its harkava shchenis. We're neighbors. But there's individuality between one shevet and another shevet. And that's why Kahal is every shevet. Besides one thing, Avodah Zarah. When it comes to the Aveda of Avodah Zarah, this was heard from Klal Yisrael mipi hagvura. Whenever the Rebbeinu Shalom himself is revealed in the world, everything is one. There's no separation of time. There's no separation of space. There's no separation of faculties. It's skira achas. It's nekuda she'ena mischalekas. That's the whole world. It's the ultimate string theory of the universe. There's one nekudas ha'achdus, nekudas ha'elakus. In other mitzvahs, we can't breathe that experience. Avodah Zarah, that's what the Jews experienced. Anoichi el noyilecha was mipi hagvura. So therefore, when they sin in Avodah Zarah, what is affected? What is affected here is the essential nekuda of Klal Yisrael. What has to be fixed? That has to be fixed. So even though they hold that still every shevet has to bring, it's not one, not like Reb Meir, but they're ma'akev one another. If I don't bring, you also can't bring. In other mitzvahs, I bring, you didn't bring. I'm sorry, it doesn't affect me. The arev in zeh b'zeh is not a chemical compound. It's a different type of mixture. It's harkava shchenis. Kol Yisrael, arev in zeh b'zeh b'avodah zarah is you're one. If you're one, then if I didn't bring, you can't bring. What does the Rambam say? Mevi'in mikol shevet v'shevet. Not kol shevet v'shevet mevi. Mevi'in mikol shevet v'shevet. Why? Because here it's one hava. Mevi'in, you bring from every shevet. From every shevet, but you bring them all. In the other Avedas, every shevet brings on his own. There's a big difference. The Choshen Mishpat, Harkava Shchenis, everybody is a Kahal. The Ephod is Avodah Zarah. Everybody is completely one. There's absolutely no division. Complete oneness. So therefore, even Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon, when it comes to this point of Avodah Zarah and Amunah, here they also say that you're dealing with one nekuda. What do we mean one nekuda? There's 12 bulls and 12 goats, but they're really treated like one. Just like if you would split a bull in two. It wouldn't work. If you take out one bull and one goat and I'll say, I'll go for atonement without you, I can't get atonement without you. You know why I can't get atonement without you? Because there's no I that's outside of you. My I and my you, I and thou are one. If I don't win,
you can't win. If I lose, you also lost. And if you lose, I also lost. In a marriage, we see sometimes people think they're trying to win the fight. If your wife lost, you also lost. And if the husband lost, the wife also lost. For me to win, I need you to win. And for you to win, I need to win. For you to win, we all have to win. It's a different paradigm, it's a different experience. Can a person live like this with Klal Yisrael in every mitzvah, in every Aveda? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon say, no, we live in a world of individuality. We live in a world of Ein Ani Li Mi Li. There's my avoided, Moshe mechitza la'atzmai, Aaron mechitza la'atzmai. There's me as an individual. Then there's me as a shevet. My family, my group, my shevet. It has its own derech, its own place in Eretz Yisrael. The place in Eretz Yisrael, the settlement, the territory in Eretz Yisrael was designated based on the soul and the chemistry of that shevet and the particular location in Eretz Yisrael, not just geographically, but spiritually. Every part of Eretz Yisrael has a different energy. As the Baal Tanya explains in the Likutei Torah, Maseh, based on Kabbalah. That's every call. And then there are those elements in the Jewish people where there's complete, absolute, indivisible oneness. Where you look at one Jew and you could see every single Jew. You look at another Jew and you could see every single Jew. You look at a Jew and you see him or her, not only as an indispensable part, but literally one chemical compound, which is indivisible. And it's not easy to separate the two. In a mikveh you have this, because that's what a relationship is based on. Ish v'isha zachu. Shechina shruya b'neihem. To the son, Stam the Rakachava explains, there's a question of Taisvis and Saita. There's a din that a mincha can be brought through shutfim. A meal grain, a gift from meal grain, has to be brought through an individual or a tzibur, not through partners. So he asks, how can a woman, a saita, Taisvis say, bring a mincha? L'cha'ira, it's from her husband's property, so it's shutfim. That's Taisvis' question, saita, I think, Chav Beis. So the Rakachava says, because it's harkava mizgis, it's not harkava shchenis. An ish and a ish is harkava mizgis, so it's not considered two anymore. It's considered one entity. So it's expressed itself even in halacha, in addition to the ish v'isha zachu shchina shoya b'neihem. So therefore, in conclusion, they say the Maisa of one of the great tzaddikim. Somebody once came to him and he was having a fight with somebody else. He was having a machloikas, a fight with somebody. So this tzaddik asked him, what's going on? And he said, no, zwei Yidden sind nicht maskem. The Polish accents, it's zwei Yidden sind nicht maskem, eine mit andere, the größe Gedille. Two Yidden, two Jews are in a fight, big deal. So he says, yes, attack it, zwei Yidden. So zwei Yidden. He says, take two Yuds and put them one on top of the other. What is it? What does it represent in the trop? In Taimei HaMikra, one on top of the other? Soif Pasuk. It's the end of a verse. One on top of the other. We call it in English a colon. But in Taimei HaMikra and trop, it's called Soif Pasuk. It's the end of a Pasuk. They make two dots, one on top of the other. He says, as benemt zwei Yidden, am legt eine Leben der andere. One near the other. What do you have? You have Hashem's name. So he says, if you're going to be one on top of the other, it's going to be Soif Pasuk. It's the end of your relationship with Torah. If you put yourself near each other, then you represent Hashem's name. So when we speak about the Jewish people, there's three layers of reality, and all layers are very authentic. On one layer, there's Eman Anili Mili. In our world, it's a world of I am I, you are you. There's my soul, my body, your body, my identity, your identity. And that's part of how we were created. That's not a mistake. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, I'm obligated to say the world was created for me. For me, not for you. It means there's something about me that I have to give the world that nobody could give. Nobody before me, nobody after me. And the whole world is waiting for that. For that aspect that I could contribute to reality, the whole universe is anticipating it because nobody else could fill those shoes. Then there's an element of shevet, of kahal. Every shevet has its characteristics, its place in Eretz Yisrael, its mission, its shlichus, its color, its flag, its destiny. You can't compare Levi to Yisachar, Zvulun to Yehuda, Dan to Naphtali, Gad to Asher, Yosef to Binyamin, etc., etc. Each one, their vocation, their shoyrish haneshama, their source. And all the other Jews are Harkav Shchenis, its neighbors. And then you have the deepest layer, as we go deeper and deeper into the core, where you reveal Anoichi v'loyilecha mipi agvura shamanim, Zacher v'shamar b'dibur echad. When it comes out from his mouth, it's one. So if it comes from Hashem, if he's revealed in it, there's absolutely no division. What gets revealed is that we're absolute one. We all melt away in complete oneness, in the oneness of Hashem, which encompasses all of us and turns us into a seamless, indivisible whole, where there's absolutely no division and no distinction, but it's actually a cosmic oneness of Einoid Milvada, where there's nothing outside of him. And ultimately the purpose is to integrate all the three layers. That Hashem created a Rishus HaYachid, as we spoke last week, to go out from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim, and to bring Rishus HaRabim back into Rishus HaYachid. Have a wonderful week. The Rosh has Shalos Tshuvos, responses that he wrote. So these are Shalos Tshuvos that were published in the city of Dvinsk. He was the Rav of Dvinsk. So it's called Shalos Tshuvos Tzafnas Paanach of Dvinsk. So there, he explains that the argument about curdling cheese, milk into cheese, depends on these two types of partnership. That's what it is. There's a few sources here from Tzafnas Paanach in this. Now, he asked the second medrash, Moshe is not counted, Yeshua is not counted, Aaron is counted, Nadav, Avihu. So, if Shevet Levi didn't sin, you only have 11 tribes, so how are you counting Kohanim? So it could be Moshe is not counted because he's from Shevet Levi maybe, but could be Kohanim because they represent Klal Yisrael. Shluchei, the Tzibura, they represent the Tzibur, so it could be they could be counted. Even though Shevet Levi didn't sin, but could be Kohanim could be counted. It's interesting. Reb Shimon holds you need 13. Not only every Shevet, you need Bezdin also. 13. Reb Shimon was the author of Zohar, Pnimi Satayra. So Reb Shimon says you have both. You have each Shevet as a kahal, but then you have the Sanhedrin has to bring one for themselves, which represents everybody. Reb Meir says there's only one, there's no division. Reb Yehuda says there's only 12. Reb Shimon says there's 12 for every Shevet, and you have to have a 13th. Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel is Echad. Yud Gimel is Echad. Shar Yud Gimel, the 13th portal. It says there's 12 portals for every Shevet, there's the 13th. The Sanhedrin had to bring for themselves because they sinned, but also they represented everybody. So that's a deeper of Echad. There's a unity.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.
Kol dodi, dodi dofek, dodi dofek bitchili. Kol dodi, dodi dofek, dodi dofek bitchili. בתחילי אחותי רעייתי יונתי תמתי בתחילי אחותי רעייתי יונתי תמתי